We are the premiers for 2019, folks. It's happened. The Oracle has spoken. The Lounge Lizard made a thread in April saying it was going to be the easiest flag ever, and he was right. It's all happening. There's miraculous calls. It was just a wonderful day all round. It is time to celebrate from a podcast perspective, and we thought we have to get Justin back. He's been with us through the whole final series. His calls have been extremely accurate. He did go the early call and said it would be a 60. I think you said a 60-point plus win, I think was what you said. Correct. And you tweeted it as well. And I'm not going to lie, when you're sitting there sort of listening to that, you get a bit annoyed. You want that to happen, but it's such a big call. But you backed it in. You gave reasons why it was going to happen. Yeah. And here we are today. So Justin Charles, welcome back to the show, the Oracle.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks, Chris. Look, introduce everybody, and then we'll come back to what I think, or how I've been able to so accurately predict these results.
No dramas. And before we skip away from it, also happy birthday for Saturday as well. So you had you had the daily double.
What a present!
So,
goodness,
absolutely,
mate, what a present! Best day ever.
Absolutely, you couldn't ask for anything more. So we'll jump back to you shortly. Joining us as well, he's been on a bit of a hiatus. He was going to join us throughout the final series, but wasn't available. Captain Blood 17, how are you, mate?
Very good, thank you. How are we all?
Going well, thanks, mate. So it's you're back from Thailand, I think it was. How was it?
It was sensational, mate. I got to watch the prelim in an Aussie bar in Koh Samui, and then me and my youngest, we sat by the poolside and listened to, we death rode GWS in, mate. Don't worry about that, by the pool. It was amazing.
Oh, very good. Just quickly, for anyone listening live, Tiger71's about to join us. I'm tipping he doesn't know we're live yet, so he might just come out with something really random and obscure, so keep an ear out for that. The reason why he wasn't on to start with was because he was just taking a quick shit. I'll be back in a sec, so just be mindful of what he might come out with. And it might have been in Geelong.
Oh, no.
He did say he was going to drive down there, so maybe we're getting Tiger71 live from the Cattery. Who knows? But no, good to have you guys on board.
Just calling that would be really awesome.
It would be. That would be the greatest thing ever if he actually.
He's currently looking for Sean Griggs' house.
Yeah, that was a bit of a not a strange call, but I mean, we all knew Griggy was going to get. I mean, I think it is good that they go to other clubs, but Geelong of all teams, after what we've been through.
No, he's forgiven.
He's forgiven. He'll be back. We're just sending him in there as a mould to really make sure they don't get any success for the next few years, and then we'll bring him back. But CB, where were you grand final? Did you go to the game?
I was there, my friend. So I had the privilege. In 2017, I was able to take my oldest son to the granny, and this year I was able to take my youngest. So the boys are batting 2 from 2. They're going okay. So we were up in the nosebleeds, mate. We were literally 2 off the roof, and that's and I'm Morris Rioli Club, mate. And I was up in the bleachers. But you know what? I could have been on top of the roof. I wouldn't have given a shit. It's the only place I wanted to be, and it was an absolute privilege and honour to watch what our team did to GWS on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good you got to go. The boys must have been pretty pumped about that. And Justin, whereabouts it was your birthday, so what did your day entail?
Yeah, it was a very relaxed. I was not nervous at all. I was very relaxed. It was just a relaxed party at home with friends at Casa Charles in Seabrook, and I didn't start drinking until halftime. And I thought, the Oracle has seen this before, and then I started to celebrate and had a few too many beers. Don't remember getting to bed, but it was just a glorious day, and it was everything that I thought. I mean, So first of all, it's everything the Tigers are, and right now, AFL scientifically, there's nothing that's not measured, and every team is around about the same in what you can measure. The person that you play against, Robert Walls told me this, the person you're playing against is about the same, a little bit better or a little bit worse than you. So physically, everything is the same. The difference is what goes inside your head, and it's the intangible stuff that the Tigers have just covered on so many levels. And, it's that love and care, the genuine care, genuine vulnerability that, it's everybody's story. It's how comfortable they make you feel within the group. They want you to be yourself, what you bring to the team. And so that energy just multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. And when all the physical things are level, then it's these things that make the difference, right? And they are streets ahead in that area. So that was number one. Number two, you got to look at what's happening on the other side of the coin and what's happened in the past. I know you can't. I mean, you can't rely on exactly what happened, but people forget the preliminary final. 2 years ago, we filled the MCG full of orders and we fucking smoked them, right? And it was not even close. There was the energy of the army, and it was like a 19th man on the field, and so there was that aspect. And then you've got to look at GWS's path on the way into the finals. Now, really, a final 8 is the competition. Like if you finish in the bottom of the bottom 4 or near the bottom of the bottom 4, you've got a lot of work to do, and they had to expend a lot of energy to get to the grand final. And it was okay. The Bulldogs, when they did it in 16, they really actually finished like second, but only percentage sort of separated them, and they were a really good team, right? And whilst they hit form at the right time, and you can't really compare GWS to the Bulldogs, right? GWS sort of were patchy coming in, and they had a really tough time coming. They beat the Bulldogs up to get into the next game. Then they had to travel and go up to Brisbane. And then they had to beat up on Brisbane again. And then they were really lucky against Collingwood. Collingwood really lost that more than GWS won that, in my opinion. I thought Grundy was dominant in that game, and they just couldn't capitalise on that dominance. And they sort of expended a lot of energy. And then we saw after the game, they celebrated like it was a grand final. And I don't give a fuck what anyone says. When you expend that amount of emotional energy on one game, it's very hard to come back up. And, I think Bob Murphy said on SEN that, that's not really a factor these days. That's not how the game's played. Well, Bob, it fucking is. I'm telling you it is. Doesn't matter what era you played. If you expend that much emotional energy to get into the grand final, it takes its toll. And that's what we saw. So all those factors sort of combined in for me to give me that figure, and that's exactly how it played out.
It was just a perfect storm, just kept all rolling into one, and
it was a perfect storm. Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
Perfect
storm. That's exactly right. It was the perfect storm, and nothing could stop it. And the boys are on purpose. So,
and we still had to play well at the end of the day, which we obviously did. So, and that was the important part. But no, it's just fascinating sitting back watching all that unfold, and then hearing your sort of reasoning the week before, and it all just kind of all married up, which is, it was brilliant. I'm sure we'll touch on a bit more of that a bit later on. The Tiger71, you're here, mate. You've made it. Welcome to the show.
Yes. Sorry, technical difficulties. The traffic from Geelong was a fucking nightmare, so I didn't want to let the listeners down. You know what I mean? I haven't even washed my hands, brothers. I've just straight away gone out there. I'm still struggling to put my pants up. It was awesome, though.
I'm not even sure. Did you actually hear what I said before you? I don't think you would have heard, but we actually joked, because I said that you said you were taking a quick shit, and I thought, maybe he's gone down to Geelong. Maybe he's going to come in live from the Cattery. And then he rolled out that one.
Here I am, mate. Yeah, no, you're a psychic. You're a psychic, Michaels. But yeah, it's tough of fun. Got videos. I'll be uploading it. Sorry, Grox?
Oh, no, we've got Grox not on tonight. We've got Captain Blood and Justin tonight.
Oh, CB, have you oiled your chair, you old...
No, I haven't, mate. I haven't. But mate, I just want to know...
yes.
Actually, I've lost my train of thought. You boys have just sort of...
Let me get you back on track. It's Pooh.
I've got you. No, I'm back. So, mate, how was Maui by the sea?
It was wonderful, mate. It was wonderful. A lot of it was the sort of environment that straight away you came to mind, mate.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
But before we push on any further, I do want to give a special shout out to Brendan Fisher's dad. So Brendan listens to us on Twitter, and he sent us a tweet last week that his dad's been in hospital recovering from a brain injury, and he was listening to the podcast with his dad, and his dad had a smile from ear to ear, listening to you blokes talk up the Tigers' chances of winning the flag. So shout out to Brendan's dad, and hopefully you're going well, mate, and the Tigers won for you. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode and gave a few laughs as well. So shout out to Brendan and his dad. It's tweets like that make it worthwhile, isn't it, though, really? I mean, I know we all have a bit of a laugh, and it's all about footy, but to make someone's night and to put a smile on their face is what it's all about.
It's dead set awesome. And Mr. Fisher, mate, when I was unloading in the that I can't pronounce their ground, I actually did a smiley face just for you, bud. So
I'm not sure that's a special request that you want attributed to your name, but well, he's got it nonetheless. There you go.
No, that tweet, like I showed that to my wife, and yeah, she goes, yeah, that's worthwhile. So she doesn't mind me doing this stuff now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's a really nice tweet, and hopefully all the live listeners out there are going to enjoy the rest of tonight's show. We'll keep pushing on with the grand final. I just want to go through some stats quickly. Obviously, we played in front of 100,014 people, which I thought was a brilliant effort given we're playing the Giants, who might have had the best part of, well, let's say maybe 7,000 to 10,000 there. So well done to the Tiger Army for turning out in force. 89-point win. Now, statistically, this has been the most dominant grand final win in VFL AFL history. And I stumbled across this today, and it's a fascinating read. So the win we had based on the scoreline of the 17-12-114 defeated the Giants 3-7-25 gives us a percentage of 456 for that game, which is the highest in history, which is well above the Geelong vs Port game where the Cats percentage would have been 370.5. So I just think it adds a bit more weight to the Premiership when it's all good and well to score, but to restrict their ability to score as well is something we've been exceptional at for a long time now. And then when you still got people trying to discredit the premierships and things like that, I find it very hard for them to defend those kind of comments when you hear stats like that, Justin.
Yeah, Chris. Look, to me, and I'm taking a leaf out of our Tigers book and Dimmer's book and trying to be a better man and just filter out that just garbage and just like people that want to shit can the Tigers. There's something wrong with that person. If you can't sit back objectively and watch what our Tigers are doing currently, then you know nothing of the game and you'll never go forward. I think right now that they're so far ahead, and I mean, look, the hyperbole can be because we've won and we're on top of the world, and you know you've got to come and get us. But really, I think the league or the rest of the league are so far off what's actually making this tick. Because they're going for the measurables. They're trying to work out every time a team comes out and tries and works out what we're doing tactically, you know, we still end up winning by an average of 36 points, right? And that's the thing. I mean, you can shit can all you like, but the resilience of the group and the ability to have 40 players on a list all up and about and all contributing, have injuries, be able to cover it, you know, the game plan is kind of secondary to the intangible stuff, and the clubs are. I think Collingwood are the closest to cracking it. I think, you know, Nathan Buckley's a real winner. He's a winner of a person, and I think he's probably the closest to cracking it. And I actually predict, the Oracle is speaking now. I actually predict in the next decade that Collingwood and Richmond are going to play like 5 or 6 epic grand finals, you know, going forward. And I think we'll wax and wane between those guys at the top because I think they're very close. And I think that's going to raise us to new levels as well. So that's just how I see.
It's funny you mentioned Collingwood as the comparison. I was talking to my boss at work today. He's a mad Collingwood supporter. He's been to a lot of the Collingwood Best and Fairest functions and all the other stuff that they do. And he actually got invited to go to our Best and Fairest last night. And I was talking to him today, and he just said, I've never seen anything like it with the way all of your players spoke from VFL to AFL about the culture, about how much they love the club, about how much they love Hardwick. He goes, I can't say I've ever seen anything like that before any of these other functions I've been to for other clubs. So whatever they're doing down at Richmond's got complete buy-in, and it is just interesting that if you sort of think Collingwood are next best placed, and I think we kind of saw that from how their game plan evolved, and I don't know, it felt like Buckley read Conrad Marshall's book, to be perfectly honest. They pretty much started copying everything. And why wouldn't you? It was successful, so why wouldn't you try and?
You?
Yeah, it's
correct.
It's a compliment essentially.
Yeah, it is, and they're actually missing they're missing the key element, right? Which is the soul and the reason why. You know, you can talk. Oh, I love the club, I love the culture, but why do you love it? You know, and what connects you to everybody else, and it's the why that's missing.
You can't manufacture it either.
Yeah, that's right. And I actually think they're a couple of draft cycles away, because once they work out that we draft specifically to the game plan that we want, right? So we want runners, we want speed and endurance, right? That's number one. You've got to be athletic. That's how they define athletic. And then secondly, character, you know, and that's the key element, that character element, because when you throw that, you know, kids that are athletic of good character, that's where the resilience, you know, comes in, and then all the stuff that you're trying to teach, they sort of are able to grasp. They've got the capacity and the emotional maturity to actually grasp that. If you don't have that, then what you get is guys gambling on footy, you know, playing basketball when they're injured, you know, taking cocaine, you know, like all this shit that goes on, and it just deflects attention from the actual goal. When was the last time you saw a negative story about a Tiger in the paper? Like, tell me, can you actually remember when the last time something negative about a Tiger was in the paper? You can't. You can't say.
What about Brody in 2017?
Yeah, but even that, like that was, and that was out of season though.
Yep.
Right.
Correct.
It was completely out of season, and that to me was, yeah, they got caught out, but it was out of season, and it didn't affect, and hasn't that just blown over? Like, hasn't that just hasn't sort of even been it's just a tiny blip on the radar, but it didn't affect the season. It was like you're celebrating a premiership, and you've got 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks. What's the word? Amnesty. You know, to fuck up. And if anything happens in that, you know, like you sort of get a bit of a lead pass. So I'll put that up. But other than that, it's probably Dusty in the Chopstick episode.
Yeah,
right. So it's you know, so they just keep a clean slate. You know, there's no negative press. The coaches give you nothing to angle on. All it is positivity, and psychologically speaking, you know, anywhere, any place, any time, anyone. You know, and they're just not pissing and you know, they'd give you nothing to angle on. We give credit where credit's due to the opposition. You know, the guys come out, all they do is they play a straight bat. You know, it's, you know, and that's what happens when you pick players of high character. So
speaking, Justin, of picking players, I found something. Obviously, we've all been basking in the glory of being 2-time premierships in the last 3 years, but funny stat. Out of the 20 fastest players in the league, we have 11 of them. Right. And out of the 20, out of the endurance athletes in the AFL, we have 14 of them.
Wow, okay.
So
I told you that. Well, why are you surprised?
Right. Well, no, that just reinforces your point. That's what I'm trying to do here. It's yeah, not just athletes, but fucking freaks. We've got our weapon is our run and work rate, right? If you combine them into that's our and speed, yeah. So you know that gives us. That's why I don't want to take us off tangent a little bit, but that's why with Ellis now going to Gold Coast Suns, it frees us up, obviously, to bring a younger kid through that's now had, you know, how great is it? We've got the luxury of having Naish and Menadue and Oleg, you know, 2 years solid in the VFL, playing our brand without being pressured to go into the seniors. Now they can get a proper crack at it. But on your Collingwood, the worry I have with Collingwood, and I get what you're saying, and I partially agree with most of it, it's just hearing Buckley talk after the preliminary final loss, I think he realises, see, where they're different from us, they're top-tier quality. So Pendles is another year older, though he's a legend of the game. He's an absolute star, but he's another year older. Sidebottom, another year older. You've got Treloar. He's lost his burst since he's done his hamstrings, right?
Treloar, 2 premierships.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, weaker list. And then they've got Dunn and Wells, and there are other keys like Moore play consistent games. So I think Buckley realises, I've got a really good mate of mine, Rocco. Shout out to you, Rocco. You'll be listening. Collingwood fanatic. He's concerned, and he's gone to every Collingwood game, because if they don't, see, they've hamstrung themselves because they've gone Beams, who might never play again if the rumours are true. They can't trade a first-round draft pick. They've got no first round this period. They've got Grundy wanting to leave next year. Grundy goes, they're screwed. That's why I've mentioned Collingwood not just have a pot of them, even though it's great. It reinforces how our list management, we're not dependent on one player anymore. Like, I seriously believe we could have Lynch, knock on wood, not play 12 games, and we will still win just the same amount of games. We're a complete system-based side, and no other side, even like your West Coast and your Collingwoods and your top-end sides, are close to us. That's what I took out of it. You know, the grand final, I'm there watching them. I have to admit, by halftime, I just completely switched off. I was that drunk, and I was just enjoying hugging random people, and it was fantastic. I lifted so many fat blokes. It was fucking amazing. But in the air, but watching our back line, they're literally like a soccer team. They're a team within a team. They have two outliers, and then they have a core four, and then they have two guys at the back. And generally what happens is, as the ball starts to move, if it's moving on an angle, they'll shift angly, ignore whoever they're on. They'll just shift as a group, and it's like a fucking synchronized dance. And then as the ball presses like an invisible line halfway through the 50, the two at the front will peel forward into the contest, and the four group that they keep in the centre, two of them will peel and replace the two that, I'm not explaining this right, but the two that have left. So they never lose their shape, and if it really gets to a point where it's getting congested in our, say, just about to encroach in our forward 50, but there's a contest. Some cases, that's how Grimes is always the last one standing, because they'll just roll up. So, and they just couldn't get through.
You said there is shape. The key what you said there is shape.
Sorry?
The key what you said there is they keep their shape.
You know,
like because it is a shape. And just further to your point before that you said there, Tiger71, is that what I said was that Collingwood are the closest to us, but they're a couple of draft cycles away from it. They need to cycle through and use a different philosophy on how they've been picking guys, and then I think they'll be okay, because they missed an opportunity this time round, and I think it's going to take them a couple of draft cycles. But I mean, they're probably the closest to it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from, but you know, I just can't get back to the fact we're fucking premiers. Like, seriously, after all the fucking haters, all the experts, like David King sucked my balls. You know what I mean? Especially you, Mike Sheehan. You can lick my asshole. You're just a bunch of so many flogs in footy, right? That seriously get paid mega dollars, and they know absolute shit. And I've got a little cry. I'm waiting till Jared Wheatley's back on the fucking radio. For those who don't know, I'm Mick from Roxburgh Park, SEN, right? I'll come out of the closet, right? That's who I am. In 1996, David Swartz and who's that golfer?
Marco Allen.
Yeah,
Marco.
Yeah. Everyone was giving us the shits, right? After we, had a shit year, everyone. And I got proof on this because I got this. My wife recorded it for me. I got into their radio station and I said to them, boys, even our board was fucking losing it. Our board sacked Hardwick and blah blah. But I said to everyone, it's a correction year. I said, I can guarantee you something about it. It's a correction year for me. And then when we lost Rance this year, Wheatley already had jumped off, and I gave him a serve. I said, mate, you had all this faith in us, and now you've jumped off. Let me mark my words. By round 17, 18, we'll be back into the top four, and we'll win the flag. I said, mark my words. So, they fucking just love the club. Just love the club.
Can I just say, I reckon I wasn't the only bloke who was disappointed to switch that radio on at 9 o'clock on Monday morning to listen to that sanctimonious prick.
Yeah.
And he wasn't on that trade radio on, and I was like, no!
Yeah, I wanted to give it to him. I wanted to give it to him, mate. Next shit run I'm going to do is got to Fox Footy 360 headquarters, mate.
The funny thing with Waitley is I was listening to trade radio on the Monday, and Waitley and Kingy were on doing the morning show. And before all the trade stuff started, they were actually going through the grand final quarter by quarter, and they were heaping praise on us, patting everyone on the back, and it's like, hang on a sec. you blokes have been trying to kick us while we're down the whole year. Kingy every week's writing a new article about how to dismantle Richmond, how to stop Dusty. Then he kicked 6 against the Lions. It's like, come on, give us a break. At least get people on there who actually love the club and talk them up. But yeah, it's always going to be the same shit, isn't it, every year? But CB, I know you love your stats, and the one stat that I've really enjoyed hearing about is Jack Riewoldt becoming the second player in history to kick a higher score individually than the opposing team's total.
Yeah.
It's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Well, we actually, there was 2 blokes. Well, did we have 2 players that outscored him?
No, I
Dusty
think
outscore him as well?
Dusty just fell short.
Oh, we should sack that freaking trading for 2 draft picks. That's terrible.
Castagna had a kick straight. Jesus.
Oh, Castagna, yeah.
Actually, can we just go on to this? Can we just go on to Jason Castagna?
Oh, I love him.
He played an exceptional game, and
He
anyone
actually did. He did
5 points. He tore GWS a new arsehole on the MCG on Saturday.
He broke the lines
thing
really
he didn't
well.
do was execute that last bloody kick,
Which
he
is now
he actually cost himself a Norm Smith.
I mean, he's actually now put himself in the history books though as the second most inaccurate grand final player of all time. So he did have a really good game, but yeah, he just needed that goal.
Michael's important to mention. Remember the thread about Castagna, and everyone was giving him the fucking, get rid of him. He's a hack. Da-da. And it was this year too when they were all doing it, right? And I got in and I did a post and you liked it, right? I always remember my post that you like because, you're so fucking special to me in my heart. You liked it. And what I said there was George Castagna is our chaos player. He is so important to our side. By the nature of his chaos, because you can tell he's made a decision when he's got the ball. Halfway, he's run 4 steps and he's changed his mind. Then he's changed his mind again. And that just works with us. And everyone that disagreed with that and said, oh, how shit was it? He sparked us. In the first quarter and in the beginning of the second quarter, the way he broke the angles as soon as he got the ball, threw their defence out, and created so many opportunities for all of us. He just got to learn a fucking handball. Just, Georgie, if you listen, mate, you're not KB, son. Right, you're not KB. So handball the fucking thing.
But Castagna actually ties into what you guys were talking about earlier. He's that exact football that he's an endurance animal. He's quick. He's got all the attributes of that Richmond man out in that field. He's a bloody hard matchup. He can take a good overhead grab. He's got everything. He can he's a really good tackler. He's a perfect Richmond player in this current time.
And you know something, this is really interesting, right? So, and this is what it's all about. It's how you play, and you've got to, like, Richmond have a different template on how they measure, and they have a different emphasis on different statistics. And so Castagna at any other team probably doesn't play, right? Yeah. But within our team, he's like very top 10 valuable, right? Because of the attributes that he brings. But those attributes, because the other teams aren't playing that style of game, he doesn't get a game. And I'm hypercritical about his finishing, like his goal kicking, because you're a small forward and that's got to be part of that's got to be part of it. But in our game, that's almost tertiary to the primary goal of putting pressure on, speed, endurance. And that motherfucker, he is electric. Like that, when he grabbed that ball and he took, and he was being chased and he took a bounce, man, there's no more arrogance there is no more arrogance to be able to being chased and you're taking a bounce, right? And
he did it twice, Justin.
It was in the back half as well.
Yeah.
And so through forward into forward half.
Right. And so that what he brings to our team, and look, if he was able to finish better, all of a sudden he becomes elite. He becomes like Brownlow medal or best and fairest material, because he would kick 30 to 40 goals a year just because of the amount of shots that he takes and easy shot. How many easy shots does he miss? I don't know. Yeah. I can't tell you what he kicked for the year, but he missed at least as many as he kicked.
Yeah, it's just because
he could be a 50-goal a year forward.
He just outworks his opponent time after time and gets himself into the right spots. And like you guys said, he's a strong marker as well, and very, very good player. And yeah, if he gets that goal kicking right, he's going to cause some serious headaches. The other bloke that actually created history on the weekend is none other than Dustin Martin, becoming the first player in AFL history to have 2 premierships, 2 Norm Smiths, and a Brownlow medal to their name. What a special player. I mean, I know the first half of his year was a little bit quiet, but he built into this final series really, really well, and he just took it by the balls and ripped the GWS heart out of them.
Just on George, he was our third highest goal kicker on 27, but with 28 points. Yeah, so he did all right for there.
So he could have look. The shots that he missed were not ungettable. And let's just say he goes at 60%, right? I mean, that's an incredible year. That's like 40 goals. Give or take. He had the season to kick 40 goals. What small forward in the game has kicked 40 goals?
Yeah, exactly. And he had actually more scoring shots at goals than Dustin Martin.
Yeah,
just Martin's accuracy just beat him by 5 goals. But, yeah, no, you're spot on. I love Georgie. I love Dusty. I love them all.
Yeah,
get him up here. What a problem.
Oh, but CB,
no, I'm with you.
I was thinking of you, mate. Best and fairest night. You and me went into bat for Dan Rioli, yeah? We said because of his work rate and he was a defensive half forward this year. He was playing way up the ground, applying pressure, blocking space, so sometimes not even getting a possession. It was good in a best and fairest night. He got recognised for it.
Yep. It was absolute star.
He had a really good grand final too. That was probably the cleanest I've seen him from a skill perspective for a number of weeks. There was no fumbles. He was hitting his targets. The pressure was really good as well. So I thought Dan had a really good game. He kicked that clutch goal as well. How nice was that one? Top of the 50, just on a stroke of quarter time.
He's past the Cochin, though. He's past the Cochin, and Cochin's great goal. That was just...
My favourite one was when he laced out Lynch in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Absolutely laced him. That was the top. As a forward, that's the ball you want. You think that. No one's stopping that. That was a perfect hit. It was beautiful.
Want to talk about some key moments of the game. I'm sure you guys will have your own as well outside of these. Justin, I remember we spoke about the fact that Mumford was a bit all talk and the pressure and the heat he was going to bring to the game. Then you see our captain, Trent Cotchin, just wrap his arms around this big beast and just drive him into the turf. Him and Prestia pile on, give away the free kick. I think that was a deliberate free kick to give away just to show, hey, we're here to play, don't mess around with us. How inspirational of a moment is that as a player? When you're on the ground, you see a teammate do that. How much of a lift does that give?
Well, it's enormous, Chris, and I'll go a step further and say that this is what makes Trent Cotchin the leader that he is. That he let's not ask anyone to do what I'm not prepared to do myself. And he's had some of the most impactful tackles this final series. That one at Geelong after half time, when we needed to get back into the game, and he just threw himself like a bullet.
It was Reece Stanley, another ruckman. That's
right. Reece Stanley, and just fucking nailed him and drilled him into the ground. It was more than a tackle, you know what I mean? It was a tackle that drew a free kick, and we got a goal out of it. I think Lynch ended up having a shot and kicking the goal within under a minute of the third quarter. But it was the intent and the ferocity of that tackle. And then he's come out and just fucking drilled Mummy. He's got to be given away 20 kilos. And he's just driven him into the ground. And then for Prestia and him to go his face and, really work his face and really give him some... And, give away a free kick. And you wear that every single time. But, that... I don't know if you saw the tweet. People were asking me about... Mummy saying he's going to bring the heat and he's going to fucking bodies are flying and all that shit. And I said, that's all just shit talk because they're clutching at straws. That will not happen. It will not happen. It's all these threats. And this group, the group that we have right now, just don't fall for that shit. And it was like, it was a statement and there was no better person to actually present that statement with authority. And I just thought that's what makes Trent Cotchin. And it was a statement on how the sort of year Prestia had. It's not just a skillful, powerful running, creative role. He's also done what's required for the team as well. So, enormous moment.
And CB, what about, you always want your big power forwards up and about early on, and within the first few minutes, big Tom Lynch, strong lead, big mark early on in the game. That also is another one for me that sets the tone. If your big forwards are clunking grabs early, and Jack clunked one as well that wasn't paid 50 out, but how good was it to see those two boys up and about with strong grabs early?
Oh, and it's critical too for your confidence to get your hands on the pill early. Like any footballer, you want that ball in your hands, but Rewalt was when he got paid, it was a mark to us. Right, I think Razor's the only dickhead that didn't see his mark in the whole ground. But
for fuck's sake, Razor,
as Dusty would say,
they were just on, and that was important for I mean, Lynch has had a great back half of the year, but Jack was. I'll give Kane Corns his fun, even though I tweeted him about it straight after the game. He was a little bit down the game previous, but he just looked on, didn't he? From that first 30 seconds when he gloved it, you're thinking, here we go. Good luck stopping him today. And I guess the other thing was Phil Davis was clearly not right, which played into our hands as well, which was fantastic. So whoever cleared him, thank you, GWS, because they were playing with 17 blokes on the field and against two power forwards like Rewalt and Lynch, you're just asking for trouble. And they certainly got trouble. It was great. And
Tig71, one of the big players, I watched the highlight of it again before. Shane Edwards, the bump he got Hopper with, that just dropped him to his knees. Seriously, Edwards was a man possessed on Saturday. He was just attacking everyone and everything, and that bump was just crisp.
I'm glad you said that. That's what I was about to say. He was actually hitting blokes, fairly, mind you, but he was actually putting a fair bit of aggression on. Obviously, because, GWS is a fully contested side, and their clearances are sort of key for them to generate a score, and he was just smacking in. It was brilliant. But my favourite moment of the game, and it's in the stands, I have to share this story. I was lucky enough to go to the grand final, and I'm with my cousins. And we're sitting up out in the bleachers, and I noticed this family of four come across. It was a brother, the dad. You could tell they're brothers; they looked exactly the same, and their daughter and their son. And they've all got their Collingwood kit on, right?
Well, this is going to end well.
No, it's a true story. This is a true story. This is a true story, right? So the little boy sits next to me. He would have been around about 8, 9. The daughter would have been around about 13. I'm just painting you guys a mental image, right? And the two men were about 40, 45, my age, And I shook hands with all four of them. They're right next to us and said, look, if I get a bit too loud, just tap me on the shoulder, let me know. So I was conscious I had the kids with me. And I said to them, oh, you're in your Collingwood kit. Why are you here? And the dad, he's like, oh, no, we're going for GWS. I said, all right, well, have fun. Anyway, the son's beside me. So first quarter, he's all GWS, and I'm getting to work. By the end of the third quarter, he's up there cheering with me for Richmond winning. The dad got that salty about it. Halfway through, I think 5 minutes into the fourth, he got all the family and they fucked off. See that little boy? I'm sorry I didn't get to high-five you at the end of the game, mate, because you saw a good team play. And, I laughed. I just got him involved with it, and he was loving it. But it's funny. It's when you mentioned the supporters, I saw so many rival neutrals doing this fake feeling for GWS, and I said to one of my mates, I said, "This is the beauty of being hated. This reminds me of in our heyday where all of Vic don't want us to succeed, and that for me shows me that we're getting there. You know what I mean? We're getting there as a club, so it's brilliant. It was a brilliant day."
And Justin, the other player I want to mention, and Marlon Pickett, the blind turn out the middle of the ground and the hit up past to Castagno. It's such a shame he missed that shot. But his goal as well, it was just a complete performance, wasn't it? I mean, we were all a little bit sceptical about will he play, won't he play, is it risky? But when you sort of weighed everything up, it actually made the most sense to play him ahead of the other two guys based on positional reasons, skill reasons and things like that and form. What a magnificent story to make your debut on the biggest stage. Literally nothing phases that bloke.
Yeah, so Richmond too. I didn't have him in the team. I thought, and I was thinking along the lines of too big a risk to have someone debut. But this Richmond recruiting staff and coaching staff are just so in tune. They recruited the guy because he's a big game performer. right? And so if you're going to recruit a guy like that, it's almost the reverse of what the Bulldogs did back when they got Jason Ackermanis, right? They got Jason Ackermanis as what they were lacking was a finisher, someone that didn't need a lot of possessions but could score a lot of goals, big game experience. And they ended up not using that weapon because they castigated him and they made him wrong for personality reasons. And they didn't get to fire the weapon that they actually recruited him for, right? Well, we did the opposite to that. We recruited a big game player that gave us versatility and composure. And how smooth. He's a special player. For him to do what he did, every possession was really penetrating. And I've got to say, that goal when he made that beautiful pass to Dusty, and Dusty took his time, and he was delaying. He threw some grass up in the air, took his full 30 seconds, and then passed it off when Pickett got into position. I'm going to say that right there typifies Richmond and why we're so hard to beat. When you've got guys looking out for each other like that, and just adding to the story like that, and wasn't it when Pickett kicked that goal? What about that? Like, the noise was just phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, you guys that were at the ground, you could probably. I mean, it was just a fairy tale, and didn't the guys celebrate with him? It was just another chapter in the fair.
It was great. I spilled 2 beers when that happened.
It was probably the loudest roar for the whole game, wasn't it?
Oh,
it was funny because at the start of the game, remember they had the Virgin airline people out there trying to break that decibel record by manufactured noise. If they had had that thing running for when Pickett kicked that goal, would have broken it.
Can we talk about noise? Can we just talk about noise for a second and just say a big fuck you to David Kosh? Right? Seriously, Koshy, go fuck yourself, mate. Like, seriously, take a lie down, grab your Valium, and just have a sleep. Because if you seriously think just because the screen was doing the Tiger roar every time we kicked one of our 17 goals, it somehow created an unfair advantage against GWS. I didn't even hear it. Every goal we kicked.
I was sitting next to the scoreboard and didn't hear it.
And he was at the game. He knew that. He's just a turd. That's why I'm so wrapped with playing the grand final at the MCG for 50 years. You flogs, you're going to just have to grin and bear it and complain on BigFooty every fucking year about Vic Bias. Take it up your clacker, because that was bullshit for him to come out and say that today. Absolute bullshit. Anyway,
it would help if you're in his position to actually be accurate in what you say before you open your big stupid fucking mouth. And even the commentary on the jumpers, he didn't even have the ladder positions right. How just dumb, just really, really dumb on his behalf.
What did he say about the jumpers?
Well, he said they're talking about GWS's jumpers, and he said that it was wrong that GWS got forced to wear the away jumper when they finished higher on the ladder than us.
He's a fucking dickhead. We finished higher.
Yeah, we know that.
He's a fucking. It's the water down there. Seriously, it's the water down there. It's there, and then he has to go back to Sydney. So he's a double flog, Sydney as well as Adelaide. I swear to God, it's the only state when it kills people they put them in freezers. You know what I mean? Adelaide, they're strange.
All right,
he's a knob end. He's a knob end. He should be in the position he's in. And that's why his team's shit too. Yeah, the fish stinks from the head down.
Yeah, they're in all sorts of trouble. Before I want to talk about a few more players, I want to try and make sure we sort of touch base on each player. I do want to put out an apology, though, for this not happening on Monday night. Charlesy kind of... He threw a barb at me on Twitter. He threw me under the bus. I'm not going to lie. That was all right, though. It was my fault. I actually almost didn't go to the grand final. As of Friday night, I wasn't going. I'd come down with a gastro or food poisoning or something like that on Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and... I wasn't confident that I could get through an episode without having to go to the toilet if I did on the Monday, so that we'll do it on the Wednesday and make sure that we can get through however long this takes. So that's why we're...
Why didn't you tell me? I would have taken you to Geelong.
Yeah, I know.
Just wasted all that good stuff.
Just sprayed the town at Brown. It would have been epic.
You'd have been like a spray can.
Yeah.
Just bent you over and just let it rip.
Just out the car window going down the main street or something.
What a missed opportunity.
Michaels, I'll tell you how weak you are, mate. I've been over in bloody Koh Samui eating labelled. Now, they were labelled pork, chicken and beef street kebabs, but I'm pretty sure it's just assorted meats in commas, mate. And I come back and my stomach was fine. Your week is pissed.
Mine was just from an Aussie pizza. That's how bad I'm going. But anyway, that's why we're doing it on a Wednesday night. But that's better late than never. Nick Vlauston, a little bit of an unsung hero, from maybe not so much from Richmond people, because I think we all know and love what he does, but 22 disposals, 12 marks, and even though some of them are chipping it around, he still has to rack them up. 3 tackles and 570 metres gained. Just what a sensational player to have in your team. He just works his ass off. Doesn't matter what size the bloke is in front of him. He'll 9 times out of 10 either A, mark it or B, spoil it over the boundary. He's just a class act.
Is it just me? Is it just me that thinks it's absolutely criminal that he hasn't been All-Australian yet?
No, not just you, man. It's fucking corrupt. That's what it is. Seriously. He's just a competitor. He's the barometer of the back line. Outside Grimes has been great.
I mean, look, in fairness, the All-Australian backline could be, and this isn't, I mean, you've got to be very careful sometimes about, we talk our team up, but I mean, seriously, our backline could be, seriously, the All-Australian backline.
Oh, easy.
So
probably
best backline in the league, wasn't it? If you include finals in points conceded, or particularly after the bye, no one came close.
Oh, that was stingy, real stingy. But
six goals in 6 quarters of footy or something. What was that stat that got bandied out?
I'm not too sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, especially from the second halves onwards of games, just nothing was getting through. And I know we kind of rely on a team defence. I don't want to take anything away from the pressure the mids apply and the forwards when they get up the ground. But Vlauston is just such a key pillar of that back line. And he was rewarded as well, obviously, in the Jake Dye medal, which we'll get to later as well. But he had an amazing game. And so did Dave Asprey. I mean, when you hear after the game the stat come out that his direct opponents didn't get a touch in a grand final, and he's playing on big guys, that's just another incredible effort.
Talk about unsung. I think he's more unsung than Vlauston. I mean, he just flies under the radar. Him and Brody, always just competing, punching the ball, taking big marks. Sometimes when you're watching the game and it's down the other end, when you're live at the game and you see the big hands go up, you don't know whether it's Grimes or Asprey. Very similar when they get their arms up there and the way they judge the footy and are able to take those marks. It's just phenomenal.
Can I just say this one thing? Jeremy, that Finlayson, that prick, I had an 8-leg multi, $10, worth $1,000 if it got up, and I had Finlayson down as an anytime goal scorer. All that poofter had to do was knock one through the sticks. I had $1,000 in the account, and that prick didn't even touch the pill. So I'm fairly savage on him.
Gamble responsibly, listeners. Gamble responsibly. Yep.
That's brilliant.
But it was justice, mate. Finlayson went to fucking potty mouth after their win against Collingwood. He started winning on the brag. And I just want to give everyone's talking about Canelio. I just want to say thank you, mate. Yeah, very wise of you to get on national TV on a Wednesday at training, drinking your water bottle and saying, yeah, you're going to win this. That was when I heard that, I thought, we're not going to lose. We won't lose.
Yeah, it's funny how the mind games work. The other mind game I want to make mention of, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but before the game when they had Maureen Hafey and Sheedy out in the ground, presented them the cup and they're standing next to it, and they both had their hands on the cup. Maureen stared Sheedy down and didn't let go of that cup until he let go of it first. Kind of similar to what Koch did to Tex Walker. And I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but I saw that and thought, shit, she's on board with this. She's 100% on board with this. This is fantastic.
She's a fucking gangster, man. She if you think that was just random, there was no random about that, mate. She's a fucking gangster. Stone cold motherfucker.
She stared him down. It was hilarious. He just eyeballed him. It was so good.
The best gangster is our very own CB17. All right, gangster CB, mate. Talk about Kevin Sheedy for me, mate. Get me excited.
Now, I just want Justin. So what normally happens is when I get introduced, there's an element of people out there that want me to just go off my dial and spray people. Right. And I discussed this with Michaels today. Just quickly, I said, look, I was going to have a shot at Kevin, but I thought we've won the grand final. He can get stuffed. He's not even worth my time on a rant. But I'll just say this. I'm not the only bloke who's mid-40s and older that was absolutely personally disgusted that Sheedy was wearing GWS bloody clothes presenting that cup. It was disgusting. And I'm off him. I've been off him for a few years. He used the club during contract negotiations, things like that. But he is dead to me as a Richmond person. That was probably the final nail. He's just a bloke that coached Essendon. He was an inaugural GWS coach. I don't ever want to see that prick in Richmond colours ever again. He can be Mr. AFL representative. Wow. He can be whatever he wants. I don't want him anywhere near our club.
Amen, brother. Here we go. That's it. That's how you feel, bro.
The roles are reversed. Usually, you're the one getting wound up.
I can't get as emotional as that about it because I do have respect for Sheeds, and I've got a bit of history with Sheeds, so I can't go that far. But what I will say, I thought he was a bit out of line, and I think he owes us an apology, was to say that to pick Marlon Pickett was disrespectful for GWS. And I think without, that's just causing trouble and shit talk. And if you really believe that, then, that's shame on you. And if you did mean it just for tactics, then come out and just say that you said it for tactics. And to get some emotion stirred up, because he of all people who has been such a big supporter of Indigenous players and giving people second chances and things like that, he should know better than that. And Damien Hardwick and his recruiting staff, that wasn't a random pick, and that wasn't they agonised over that, but they picked him up in the mid-season draft for a purpose. And this purpose arised. And so they played the weapon that they planned for. And it had nothing to do with GWS. To make it about GWS is the height of narcissism. It had nothing to do with them. What we do and who we pick, I mean, it's no more disrespectful than you playing Davis, injured. Like, how disrespectful, you think you can get away with an injured player against us. Fuck you. So that's just how I feel about that. And I think that was a bit out of line. But, I mean, I can't – I mean, it's funny to hear you speak about that, CB. Like, I fucking laugh at it. But that's how I feel about it.
I'm not hey, trust me, I'm not the only one in the outer that feels that way about Sheedy. It's been a gradual thing. And, Kevin,
I'm feeling
for you.
No ticket for you.
For Kevin on the
on the Tiger train. He's been stripped.
No ticket. Fucking posters are up in the train stations. He's never getting on.
I'm feeling you hurt, CB.
I could go on, but I've gone full Tiger71.
I like this. The roles are completely reversed. Usually it's CB winding up Tiger71. We pre-plan that shit just to get him to fire up, just to get a rise out of him. But this has been really good, Tig7. Well played, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Get stuffed, Tig71.
Now, controversial opinion. Has Basher Hooley been robbed 2 grand finals now of Norm Smith? Like, I know Dusty was good, kicked 4 goals, but my thing is when the heat was on early, Basher was immense when the heat was on. Dusty just steamrolled them when they gave up, essentially, which is fine. He still had to kick the goals.
Selling Dusty's game short,
I'll take that back in parts. He was good when the pressure was on too. No, my ticket's
Yeah.
gone as well. But I just thought...
Kevin
You're dead to me, Michael.
Oh, no, I'm going to get run over my own show.
Don't get me wound up, mate.
But I thought Basher's pressure early on was just incredible. His tackling pressure, his aerial presence, and his ability to generate that run off the half-back line, I thought was really pivotal in keeping us, not in the game, we went out of the game, but he really sort of got things going for us.
Look, he did, and I'm not taking anything away from his game, right? But equally, and someone that we were talking about people going unnoticed, Short's game was brilliant. He, for me, really stood up as well. He created as much drive and run and carry, in my personal opinion, particularly in the first quarter and a half, as Hooley did. Hooley's just, we give him 1-year contracts. He will take that. He's just, as a bloke, for what he does on the football field and what he does off the field, I just give credit to the guy. And it's now permeated because people used to think, he's just putting this on, or, the rednecks would say redneck things. But now they're saying he's fairly a genuine, fantastic bloke. He really is community conscious. It speaks volume for him. And what I love about it, Essendon traded him for nothing, got rid of him for nothing. And a person like that would not be in love with the club as much as he is if we weren't genuine. I love Hooley, but no, there's no way that he got robbed. Dusty was it was Dusty's day. It was particularly when the heat was on, when he scored the goal, the first goal of the second quarter, didn't he? I think, and then he put it to bed at the end of the second. Dusty was a jet.
Look, you know what? Here's the thing. If you and make no mistake, I am. Bash is my man. He's my motherfucker. Don't worry about that. He is stone cold back there in defence, and he's been resolute all season long. I thought there was a case in 2017 that you could make, and I still thought it was Dusty. Like, no matter when you rewatch that game over and over and over again, as I have, the more in love with Dusty and that 2017 best on ground, and the more I feel the guys got it right. Watching it firsthand, I thought there was a case for Basher. But Dusty, if you isolate like Dusty's touches, and play them back to back, every touch that he had, I mean, it is just I just feel so blessed. And I wrote to Ralph Carr, this week, just on thank you, Ralph, for doing the right thing by the kid and the club, and you've done us all a great service, and I'm really grateful to you for keeping him at Richmond, because he is just a special player. I mein, his fend-offs on the weekend were like a pile driver. They actually sent guys flying backwards. He's just an exceptional player. I mean, there was a poll on Twitter the other. I think Davey put a poll. Do you love Dusty as much as your wife? And I was a no, but only just.
Wouldn't have been.
He can come in and share. But,
can I just say my favourite moment of my favourite Dusty moment of the grand final, apart from passing to Marlon, was that one where we've knocked the ball forward in the second quarter, and Dusty's just read the ball about 2 seconds ahead of his opponent, didn't even body him, just got out the back.
Yeah.
And so that was a great goal. I lost my shit when he came back.
It's almost like he's like a 6'2" Wayne Carey at times. He's so clever like that, and that's how Wayne Carey used to play as well. Like he'd use brute force if he had to, but if he didn't had to, he was just so in tune with the game and was just able to sort of fake him forward and like imitate he was going to go with him, and then just snuck out the back, read the bounce better, and I agree with you, man. That was just such a glorious goal.
I just loved his last goal. When he kicked his last goal, when he's got the jumper in his hands, and his emotion, he's just yelling, top of his lungs, and it just showed how much it means to him that the team gets the success, not just himself. We're very fortunate. We've got, like, I'm not saying he's a Wayne Carey level yet. He needs a couple of more years, but you've got your Dangerfield, your Fife. They're all great players. What separates Dusty is you can't really sit there and say Dangerfield and Fife scream team, team first. Dusty does. We've got a maverick who can do special things like a Carey, but it's all about the team, not his personal glory. And I just fucking rapped. And also, just to not undersell Shane Martin. If it wasn't for him, Dusty wouldn't be in yellow and black, if we're just talking about the first contract. I know that as a fact. After that, Ralph has been great, but Shane Martin is the one that made sure that Ralph did the right thing in his first contract. So thank you, Shane. Hopefully New Zealanders can hear this.
No, they should be able to. What about Josh Caddy's game? He's kind of had to evolve himself into a new role. He played a few games in the VFL, and I really love the way he's going about it. He's just a tough, uncompromising football. He had 19 disposals, 8 marks, 6 tackles, 9 contested possessions, 4 score involvements, and 2 goal assists. He's just a perfect link-up man, and he's dangerous around goal too. I think he's really sort of come of age now.
And he swallowed his pride. He's a Richmond man. He's really... Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm so proud of him to go back to the twos when clearly I felt, in Dimmer we trust, and that, we're going through that period of, unrest, and I feel he's in our best 22. They've dropped him back to learn a role. He's gone back without batting an eyelid. Not only has he learnt the role that they want him to play, but he's added to it because of what you said or what you started to say before I rudely cut you off there, Tiger71. Sorry, buddy. But he brings that attacking mindset on top of the role that he was asked to play, and his creativity I just love the bloke. I'm so proud of him. I love the fact that he's a Tiger, and I'm so proud of the way he went about learning the new role and just accepting it. And it's the epitome of being a Tiger. So
Richmond man.
He's a Richmond man, 100%. Richmond man, because look, he's always had that little aura of being a little bit of a flog. You know, me. Even and I love him, right? But he does, right? You know, me. But I've seen real growth in him the past 24 months. And this year I was just so fucking rat. When you didn't hear poop from him, he got demoted. He worked his ass off in the VFL, got a handle of what the coaches wanted. And the reason he's added himself to it because he's brought in. And that's like everyone hears about Richmond, they all buy in. He just brought in, and he's going to get the rewards.
Dual premiership player, mate.
Mate, fucking great.
Yeah, plenty
of
of
like about him first and foremost. He's just a genuine hard bastard. He doesn't take a backward step. When it's time to go, he goes. That's what I love about him.
Yeah, every team needs one of them.
He has got genuine courage and eyes for the ball, and he's also quick to fucking tell you if you don't. Right, and if you're gonna go the knuckle, he's gonna fucking sort you out. So I dig that in him, he's very high in my estimations. I'm so proud he's a Tiger.
Yeah, Kane Lambert, what a story he's been as well. He's one of our most important players. I think he's one of those players that you don't kind of notice his impact on the team until you don't have him playing. So when the games he doesn't play, you think, shit, we could have really used his run and carry and his creativity, but. He had another super game. He just always finds a way to score a goal in those big games, doesn't he? He's just had another super year, and I'm so rapt that we, took the punt to put him on the list. Was that you giggling, CB?
No, it's my daughter, Millie.
No, I'm taking a piss out of CB. Sounded exactly like him.
Here we go.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like him. No, fantastic. No, I agree with you, man. I 100% agree with you. I can't add any more. It's spot on.
I've got something to add. I just, once again, reward for effort. He got that goal. Hey, Millie, stop it. He
Welcome to the show,
goal
Millie.
As reward for effort. Talk about, he's the epitome of what we talk about, how Richmond recruit players. He's got speed and endurance, and he's high quality. And a really good finisher, and that was a highlight for me too. That reward for effort to kick that goal. He's just been a massive contributor to Richmond's season this year. It's just been a phenomenal effort by the boy, and once again, so proud that he's a Tiger, man.
And CB, what about Toby Nankervis? I know the jury was out a little bit on him in the first couple of finals, that his output wasn't as good as we would have liked. We obviously were always going to persist with that dual ruck combination. But to churn out 17 touches, 5 marks, 3 tackles, 22 hit-outs, 8 contested possessions and 3 clearances, that's a pretty well-rounded game from Toby Nankervis as a ruckman.
Well, this is where when Mumford was talking his smack talk during the week, I was sort of like, have they not seen Toby Nankervis play the game? If ever there was a bloke that was not going to take a backward step, Toby's your man. But I'll go, he had a great game, but I'm just looking at the stoppage numbers. Who's our stoppage coach?
Oh, it's the St Kilda. Everyone was saying it was a hack.
McQualter.
We were a little bit critical of him mid-year. I think there's a bit of criticism around it. But I'll just give you the numbers around the stoppages. So hit-outs, we rolled GWS 42 to 18. Clearances, we rolled them 35 to 32. Centre clearances, we nutted them 11 to 8. And stoppage clearances, 24 apiece. So the work, the effort and work that even Bigger Barnes Soldo brought to the midfield group, particularly in that final series, was just first rate. And as you know, Toby's worth his weight in gold at ground level. Once that ball hits the ground, he's like an extra on baller. He really uses his frame to clear paths for our blokes to go forward, and he doesn't mind shaking up the on-ballers as well, the opposition on-ballers with a nice hard tackle. So he was exceptional, but that overall midfield group and the way they were coached was superb.
And Soldo was good as well. I'm glad you touched on him. I mean, he only had the 7 touches, but 20 hit-outs, The thing that's impressed me about Soldo in the last 4 games has been his marking ability. I think that's really come of age, especially under pressure, going back with the flight of the ball and taking those really nice marks at key parts of the ground. And I think it's been a really big string added to his bow. And then to kick that goal as well, that was just a really special moment for him.
100%. Look, so this is right in my pocket here. So we're talking about the rucks, and I just thought coming into the game, and there was, chatter on Twitter, which is white noise to me, about do we play 2 rucks? Well, fucking of course we do. The form of the 2 guys coming in, and I think this is where the season. Each season is different. The personality of each team of each season is different. And the form of guys waxes and wanes, and how you plan them to be may not be where you end up. And I feel maybe at the start of the year and maybe, in 2017, 2018, that we weren't able to, or we didn't have the manpower or the talent to play 2 rucks. But I think 2 rucks now, I mean, we didn't miss a beat, and wasn't it? Didn't we win that position? And we've won that position for 13 weeks. I just thought, the 2 rucks, it was, and particularly I loved the way Nank was getting right over the top of Mumford in the end, really jumping right up like half a body higher, as was Soldo, by the way. I thought their ruck work was just excellent, but Soldo's marking. I was just so in love with how our big ruckman played, and 2 ruckmen is a thing for us now currently, and I think it will be going forward because we've got such talent in the ruck, and I think there's not only do we have the talent in the ruck, but we've got so many different permutations with CCJ, we've got Chol, even Bolter at a pinch. It's just so exciting in terms of ruck stocks at the moment. So it's a thing.
The last 2 players we've got to mention is Shai Bolton playing in his first grand final. Didn't look out of place at all. Finally got the goal that I think he deserved. He had 2 clearances, 4 tackles, 3 marks, 11 disposals. The moment for him, I think, might have been the second quarter. I think I was just watching it before we come on, when there was like a loose ball sort of rolling through the middle of the ground. And he just come flying through at 1,000,000 miles an hour, picked it up, with no regards for his own safety, copped a bump and fired the handball out to Pickett, who got the ball inside 50.
Yeah, I remember that.
His attack on the ball, I think that's been his knock a little bit in his earlier years, was he wasn't sort of as hard as the contest and wasn't defensive-minded, but he's really taken all that on board by the coaches, and he's turning into such an important player for us.
But if he can build his tank... Sorry, Seba, if he builds his tank, for me, I reckon he's an ideal winger. He's small, but he's fast. If he can build that endurance side of his game, because he's got that X factor, he's a winger that can push into the centre and then go out and do the running. And he's smart. He reads, his footy IQ's off the roof. He knows where the ball's going to go before it goes, and he knows where to kick it. Normally when he kicks it inside 50, it becomes a goal. I'd love for him to be in the ring because that'd give him his freedom he needs to create. No, I love Shai. But please tell me the last player's Baker.
It is.
Have you guys spoken about him?
No, Liam Baker.
So I was just going to say on the young fella, Shai Bolton, we applaud Josh Caddy for going back and working on his game. Well, Shai Bolton was another one where, he had some clear deficiencies in his game, and he's worked bloody hard, and now he's a Premiership player, and he's a very deserving Premiership player.
But he's ceiling.
Yeah, look, you're right. And I think you've hit it on the head, Tiger71. I think his endurance, and now it's hard to know whether that's endurance or he's lazy. Or when I say lazy, I mean could work harder, right? Could work harder at the contest. I'm 100% agreeing with you. I think his creativity, his speed, and his just unpredictable nature, like when he's got feet like ticker tapes, right? He's so quick and so agile and so nimble. It just gives him so many options. He's hard to read and hard to stop. But his creativity, his vision, like how many scoring involvements does he have? How many assists does he have? Is so creative. I agree with you. I think a wing is a good position for him. But what I noticed on the weekend and what I just loved was his closing speed and his pressure. Like it seems like he's 50 metres away and you've got the ball and you think you're in the clear and he'll just close in on you. You've got 1 second before it feels like he's able to close that distance really quickly and put that kick under pressure. His defensive pressure was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. No, it definitely was.
No, agree, 100%.
You notice that he's sometimes the last or the highest player in our forward press. So when they're chipping it around the back line trying to switch it, he's that guy running from player to player to make sure he can stand the mark, to hold him up everyone else can get across the ground and do their thing. So he does a lot of unrewarded running sometimes, but it might look that way. But from a team perspective, if he doesn't get there, the other team's away. So credit to him. And young Liam Baker.
And that's what... Or just before, so when I say, like, I think his defensive pressure's good enough. I'm saying, like, his work rate to get to the bottom of the pack when Jack and Tom are going for the ball.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And Liam Baker, what a story he is as well. He's kind of not come from nowhere, but it might appear that way if you're from the outside looking in. I thought he actually got a lot better as the finals went on, adjusting to a new role. I mean, I'm not sure whether he would have played as a small defender any time in his junior career. I'm tipping he was maybe forward or midfield, but his work that he's done, the courage he displays on the big stage was just first class.
Oh, you know that saying, hard as a cat's head?
That's him.
Oh, that's Baker, mate. Sorry, my dog. Shut up, Caesar. Hard as a cat's head. What I loved when he got hit by Cameron and he just bounced up. So my dog wants me to take him for a walk. Soon, sure, 10 minutes. All right. I don't know if anyone listening has got an English staff. They're fucking intelligent as. I tell you what, he knows my time at 9 o'clock normally is when I walk him. And he knows it's coming up, but I haven't put the lead on him yet. So, okay, anyway, back on point.
Baker, yes.
Look, I think you're right. I think since they switched him into the back line, I think he's found another leg. You know, sometimes some players to play in the forward line is tricky. You throw someone into the back line after struggling in the forward line, and all of a sudden now they're running straight lines directly towards goal, and I think that really suits him. Because, gee whiz, I mean, the way his attack on the footy and he tends to give away a rough free kick every now and again, but it's just from his sheer attack on the footy and his sheer desire to lock that ball in. And I think he's really, he's really made a difference and he's really becoming one of those elite, half backs, small backs, really creative too, but his attack on the footy is just second to none. I mean, just unbelievable what he's been able to achieve this year.
I reckon he might have gone close to best on ground in the after party as well. He seems the kind of guy who's a bit of a loose unit. I reckon he'd give it a fair crack.
Yep, no, I heard the same thing. But you know what's great? All these kids we're talking about, Shy, Baker, Marlon Pickett, they've all got so much upside. Get 2 more pre-seasons into them, they're going to be a lot better than they were on Saturday. So we've got so much scope for internal improvement. It's great.
We also had the Jack Dye medal last night, which we'll touch on quickly. I'll go through the top 5. So Dion Presti obviously won the award on 91 votes. I thought that was very well deserved. Shane Edwards came 2nd, Dylan Grimes 3rd, Nick Vlosten 4th, and Tom Lynch came 5th. I think the most impressive thing about that top 5 is it doesn't contain a Cochrane, a Dusty, a Jack Riewoldt. It just shows how far we've come as a team. And Dion Prestia, as I mentioned just before, but his year has been just sensational. The way that he has sort of built himself into this player after getting a full pre-season under his belt. I know you were really big on that Tig71 for a long time with all the episodes we've done together. That's always been your mantra, that once he had a full pre-season, we would see why that pick 6 was worth it. And we've absolutely seen it, and he's paid us back in spades. And even just to see him accept the award and the emotion he was showing and how much it meant to him to win that kind of award, even though it's a team sport and he's obviously we won the flag, but I think it just really validated for himself how hard he's worked, and it's just a good bit of reward for effort.
Oh, he's great. What I love best about him too is in the off-season he blows out. He puts on an extra 10 kilos, but then he works it all off before training. He's just a top kid. Prestia, if you see him in the off-season, mate, watch his gut. It will go out as big as mine. But then he works it off. His dad works at Epping Fruit Market, and great family, great culture. He's a heart and soul player. Like, he'll stay with us till he retires. He's just brilliant.
Yeah, awesome stuff. The only thing I was rapt to see Tom Lynch, finish in the top 5. He's been spectacular. I loved some of the stats that they were reeling off about him. Most marks inside 50, contested marks, number 1, tackles inside 50, number 1. That just tells me just how, and just watching him week in, week out, how he's bought into the Tiger ethos and what he's bought, with his talent and he's, his willingness to sacrifice and understand it's not all about him. Playing hurt, all of that, just super. The only thing about the count that I was a bit disappointed, I thought Dusty would have finished top 5. I probably would have had him, I would have had him second myself.
I thought Basher might have finished higher as well.
Yeah, I thought Dusty for sure would have finished second, but just goes to show what the the coaching staff and the selectors are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, before we go, Tiger71, did you have any quick updates on the Crouch situation?
I better be quick because my dog's giving me that. Oh, it's all right. That's it. All right. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'll get this through quick. Alice obviously happened. Liam, take him. I'll take him for a walk in a sec. Take him. So Alice, we all know he's gone. I reckon it'll be pick 19 we'll get from him, or whatever that push down pick it becomes. Brad Crouch, I mentioned Crouch 2 years ago. Now one's going about Crouch is coming out. I don't think he's going to come. My gut's telling me. My mate who I had lunch with today is that we're getting told mixed messages, and we're not interested in those type of games. We've got interest for him. We've got a good offer that we could provide for him if he came across, but it's really success over money, and the feeling is that the dollar signs are that large that he'll go. So the reading of the tea leaves is that he'll most likely be in Gold Coast. But then my mate said he wouldn't be surprised if he does a backflip, but it's still too early to tell because she can change. I think we're going to be quiet, to be honest with you. There's another target in Port Adelaide. If we can shake the tree, maybe get something loose. But outside of that, mate, it's just go back to the draft, improve what we've got internally, and continue going forward.
Carry on.
That's what it looks like.
Fair enough, mate. No, it's all good news to hear. All right, well, we'll let you go, Tiger71, because your dog's about to chew your leg off if you don't.
Sorry,
no, that's all right.
He's inside. He's a beautiful English staff. I love him to death, but he's like my wife. Sometimes he'll be a pain in the ass, a bit too loud. Hopefully she'd hear me say that. All right, guys, have a good one.
Appreciate your time going on, guys. Now you can duck off, Tiger71.
Oh, yes, you know what? Next podcast in the new year, when we do a pre-season podcast, I'll upload videos of it to you, Michaels, and then you can do like those little dots to cover the nudie
the
bits,
pixelated, okay.
I pixelated dots.
Won't need many of those. I wouldn't have thought to pixelate you, but all right, we'll do that.
That's very nice. Just on behalf of me, if I don't get to do this again before Christmas, and a new year, you guys and everyone that's listening, have a great and safe new year. May it be joyous, and we're fucking premiers.
Absolutely,
nothing can go wrong till the first bounce.
Black, baby.
And nothing can go wrong next year either, because we'll be fucking reigning premiers. That's the beauty of it.
Yes.
So, all right.
Have a good one, guys. Enjoy walking the dog, Tiger71. And to Captain Blood 17, welcome back to the country, mate. And I'm glad you're back for the grand final. Can join us for this show. So thanks for your time tonight.
My pleasure, mate. My pleasure.
And I'm sure, no doubt, we'll get you back on down the track as well for something, whatever else we decide to do. And Justin Charles, a massive shout out to you, and thanks for joining us on all these final series podcasts. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. The feedback we've received with your insights has been extremely positive. Everyone's loved hearing your thoughts, especially because they all sort of come true, even better, especially when you're calling 60-point plus margins in the grand final. At the time, it was like, what could possibly go wrong? But no, you were bang on the money, and everyone's really loved your insights. So you're more than welcome back at any time to come onto the show. But thanks for your time again, mate.
The pleasure's all mine, Chris. Thank you so much for having me on, and I've really appreciated I mean, I'll give my opinion whether you want it or not, but I've appreciated the platform, mate. So thank you so much, and thank you guys. Thanks for taking part as well. It's been a pleasure working with everybody, and looking forward to seeing you very soon, hopefully.
Absolutely, no dramas at all. All right, guys, thank you so much again, and for one last time, we are the Premiers for 2019, and we'll be for the whole of 2020 and until September, and hopefully we can do it all again. Go Tigers!
Yeah, right, baby.
Tigers.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Richmond BigFooty Tigercast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and YouTube so you can follow all the roast and toast, the reviews and previews, and all topics Richmond. Also keep an ear out for our special episodes of interviews with past players. Go Tigers!